Good evening.
Good evening.
This is another workshop we're starting today on immune health and imbalances. So welcome to the workshop. Thank you guys for being here. I think we're still expecting some guests. So settle down and let's start so there's not a lot of noise on the video. Thank you. All right. So most of the workshops going forward, I'm going to be running them in 4 parts. The first part is going to generally be about our overall strategy of how we approach chronic illnesses. The second part is going to be the workshop topic of the day. And the next part is going to be, we're going to explore a questionnaire, and then we're going to talk about our interventions to address those underlying imbalances, which is the focus of the topic. So today our topic is about hormone health and imbalances. But before we go there, let me remind everyone about where we are and what we are about. At Anti-Fragility Health, we are about addressing the causes of chronic illness. Our focus is actually around discussions, understanding, and taking actions around what we call the 7 imbalances. And we do that mostly by running diagnosis, which we'll be talking about in detail as I walk you through this, and addressing the imbalances using what we call interventions. And most of our interventions are lifestyle interventions. So that is really the core of Anti-Fragility Health. So let's start with the causes of chronic illness. Toxins. And then you know what toxins are?
Yes.
Give me an example of a toxin.
Substance that cause harm to the body.
Like what? I need a name.
Like lead.
Like lead. What is lead? And then I like this direction. Why is lead a toxin? You want to help?
Keep safe.
Not bad.
Key measure water and air.
Key measure water and air. Okay. Thanks, Kim. No, the point about lead is that it's a heavy metal. Okay? Heavy metals have radioactivity. And there is a concept called half-life. And heavy metals emit radiation. And the radiation disturbs the systems of the body, how they run. And in some cases, they are carcinogenic.
Okay. So is that, you're talking about radiation, is that the same?
No. So what is from radiation is the X-ray waves. And that's the frequency of those waves is what causes problem. It's not the radiation itself. Do you understand that? It's very important. Like in chemotherapy, when they use the chemicals, it is the radiation that's emitted that actually kills the cancer cells. And that is really the key issue about toxins. As you mentioned, lead, or mercury, or any of them that are inert compounds. Okay? Is that making sense? So I was just talking about one. So it's important that we understand these things and how they actually cause illnesses. So how would lead, when we run your urine for toxicity and we see the contents of the toxins inside of you, there is an acceptable level of lead inside all our bodies. The concern is when that level rises to levels that we know become a problem to the body's system.
And it will trigger, and that trigger will be different for different individuals.
Correct, yes. So, and I was just going, thanks for that. So what he was saying was that the level at which the concentration of the toxin or heavy metal becomes toxic is different for each individual.
How do we know that each individual is different?
That's why we measure here to find the level for you that is causing problems. The first time we measure, we're not going to know. So you're asking a big question that I discussed before with regard to measurement and statistics. So let me spend some time on that point. So your question is, this is what we call the upper limit. That's what we call the lower limit, right? And we are saying that here is green, here is yellow, and here is red. So if your lead concentration is up to this lower limit, we consider that safe from a population perspective. If it is at this level, we know it is getting unsafe. And when it is here, we know it's a problem. So when we read your report, that's how we statistically represent most of the data. And it's based on population. So if we're treating you and we have done everything possible and you are here, that's why we do a lot of detox and we pull you a lot of other things to reduce your overall toxicity, to try and find the level at which you can be very healthy. And don't forget that the level of toxicity is very different from where you live. So Dr. E was just saying today that some people had cancer in the city, in Korea. They moved to the mountains and the cancer went away. So the process of detoxing and purifying and reducing these concentrations in the blood reduces the impact of chronic illness. So if you look at the literature we've discussed on blue zones, a lot of people who've moved to blue zones reduce the stress in their lives. As we look at the causes of chronic illness, if you move to the mountains, you reduce the toxins, you remove the allergies, you reduce the pathogens, you reduce the stress, you eat very clean and good food, you can overcome your genetic underlying risk. Very complicated. So today somebody was asking us the question. Prasant and I were taking the call. This woman has cancer. She's on several medications. She's undergone chemotherapy. She has neuropathy and Parkinson's and a lot of things. And she was like, can you tell me the one thing that I can do? And Prasant and I were looking at each other and like, there are 20 things you should be doing. She's 68 years old. And it was very sad. She was crying, right? It's very sad. First consultation. And we felt desperate. We felt hopeless. Because where do we begin? And she's on Oxycontin and she says there's no way she could survive. Yes.
She completed 7 cycles and ilium they removed.
Yes. Exactly. So really very complicated, and she lives really far away. But it's very difficult for us to. We're going to reach out to her and see if we can do some analysis. Just listening to her and finding people who were ready to listening to her was very comforting. But, you know, when people are complicated by all of these things, Western medicine begins to look for one particular medication to solve it. It's very complex. This creates this complex of imbalances. That is really at the heart of chronic illness. That's why chronic illness is really very difficult to solve. It creates these imbalances. Sitting right at the middle is what we call hormonal and neurotransmitter imbalances, which is going to be our focus today. But let's just take a gentle walk through all of them. Sitting at number 1 is that big issue of oxidation. Big challenge. As I spoke in earlier workshops, the mitochondria, which is the heart of energy production, you could call it the nuclear plant of the cell. Every cell has one. in the process of generating energy, generates this exhaust fumes called reactive oxygen species. That is a very poisonous substance that's produced because it's highly reactive and it binds to a lot of good things in the body and depletes those good things in the body, like proteins, like fats, like carbohydrates. It depletes them, and so it doesn't matter how much nutrients, that process is depleting. It's a natural process, and we need detoxification and things that helps us, like glutathione, that the body produces to quench this fire that's burning to produce energy that powers every cell. It's a very critical process in the body, and it is part of what actually destroys and causes aging. Mitochondria. That's one of the big issues why as you grow older, you have less energy. That is at the heart of the matter, the engine that creates energy for the body. And we know that from the metabolic theory of cancer, that when cancer cells or mitochondria lose 30 to 40% of their capability to generate energy, what we call the oxidative capability, they become cancerous. So this is really a core issue, looking at what we call mitochondriopathy, where the mitochondria begins to lose its capability. The second one is that whole issue of detoxification. We've spoken about it, supporting that first one. The next one is the structural imbalances, the cellular membrane function that supports our skeletal system, bone formation, ligament, all the things that give us structure, flexibility. I shared on Facebook this guy who can turn himself, just watching it makes you feel crazy, right? Yeah, his legs are like rubber. I mean, he can turn them every which way. You know, that kind of structural integrity we are capable of it. And so watching that guy, you really wonder whether his bones and his ligaments actually, you understand, that somebody can have that kind of flexibility. Then there's this very interesting one called mind-body and body-mind. As we've spoken with a neurodegeneration, we know that the gut-brain connection is a very powerful one, right? We actually think the mind drives the body, but we know the body also drives the mind, and the question is who actually drives who. But the imbalances around that can be very challenging. But we know that most of the imbalances of the brain actually arise from the body, and they go through what we call the blood-brain barrier. Then we have digestive, absorptive, gut microbial imbalances, the big one, which is for us almost in this practice the key focus for trying to take control of chronic illness. Then we have immune inflammatory imbalances. That was our topic last week. We spoke about immunity and inflammation. So for people, how many people here watched last week's video? You can say you watch it and then fill the question, or you can say I didn't watch it, then I will not ask you the question. So how many people watched the video last week or were in class last week? You were here. So I'm going to ask you the question on immunity.
Okay.
Why is immunity connected to inflammation? What do they have in common? Immunity and inflammation. Dr. Noel is like, I know the answer. Why are they connected?
Like, immune is like a defense to our body defense.
Defense, yes, agreed. No, you're close. You're close. Go for it. You're close. I see that you're close.
How body react to inflammation. I mean,
No, inflammation is the body's reaction
yeah.
I know.
to what? Is the reaction to attack.
Yeah, like infection or something.
Correct. So, and when that inflammation happens, then the immune system,
No, react to it.
yes, comes to, because it's like the policeman of the body, right? When there's a fight, it goes to quench the fight, right? But if it is quenching fights all the time, then it gets depleted in its architecture. That's why chronic inflammation is really bad for your immune system. Do you see the point? So people say, oh, fix my immune system. But we cannot just fix the immune system when it's being drained by inflammation. So you have to address inflammation, then boost the immune system. Is that clear? Especially in the fighting for cancer. We have to reduce inflammation so that your own immune system is functional. Even if you're receiving immunotherapy, we want to reduce inflammation to increase the effectiveness of the immunotherapy, or the T cells, the killer cells that are going to attack the cancer cells. So our immune system by itself is very, very powerful. And immunotherapy leverages that. That's why it's the most effective treatment we have right now for cancer. Immunotherapy. Okay? Or what we call cell-based therapy, where they extract your own immune system, boost it, and put it back into you. All right? Those are the most effective therapies now for cancer. So when you look at all these imbalances, it is not like one happens and then the others are fine. The challenge with our body is that all of them depend on each other. It is a closed system, right? When biological systems are closed systems, they're very challenging, right? So what is a closed system? How many of you did biology or physics or chemistry? So what is an open system and what is a closed system? Yeah, so our body runs without depending on a lot of outside indicators, except air and sunlight and food. So you could really lock yourself up and have, that's why children can survive inside the stomach, right, in a closed system. If they have everything they need, they don't need anything else. And that system can run on its own. It just needs energy from somewhere. Energy, it can run on its own. It's a very closed system. So these imbalances are tightly connected. That's why chronic illness is so difficult. That's why everybody is struggling. Every pharmaceutical company is struggling to find cures for chronic illness. Because to cure what we call diabetes, diabetes has imbalances across all of those 7 areas. Parkinson's has imbalances in all of those areas. Is that making sense? Cancer has imbalances across all of those areas. And the imbalance that is going to show up for you is going to depend how you react to these causes. Is that making sense, guys? That's why precision and personalized medicine, which we practice, is the only way for us to address this at the very heart, at the personal level. Yes.
A question. You're talking about cancer. So all kind of cancer you're talking about.
Yes. Except single gene cancers. Those are cancers that come with little babies. That is the genetically inherited cancer, right? It's a different kind of cancer. It's like type 1 diabetes. It's inherited. So those inherited illnesses, are different. But the inherited illnesses, they come with genetic risks that are turned on already. And they were genetically turned on, not driven by the environment. Is that making sense? All right. So how do we then find your particular imbalances? So there are lots of tools that are emerging, yes. And that's why we use very advanced diagnostics, right? Number one, we want to take your saliva and find your genetic risk, because that begins to tell us which imbalances may be a particular challenge for you as an individual. Is that making sense? Because typically the underlying genetic risk is going to show a weakness in one of these biological systems. And so that begins to tell us that this person is going to have a sub-optimization in that particular biological system. The second thing is that we want to look at your blood biomarkers. So the blood biomarkers are different from the saliva genetic risk. And then, why are they different? Tell us, Dr. Noel, why are they different? Why is the underlying genetic risk different from what the blood clinical biomarkers are telling us?
Genetic markers are not really.
No, I think you were getting there. So the underlying genetic markers are showing the inherited risk. The blood biomarkers may also show some of that, but they are showing your current biological underlying risks. Is that making sense?
So, both of them accurate to which one?
No. They are both representative. I don't know what you mean by accurate. Accurate is a very challenging word in biology. They are markers. So let's take a step back. What is a marker? What is a biological marker? A biological marker is a metric or a measurement that we use to indicate the presence or the status of a biological system. Is that making sense? It's good that we understand what this thing. So when we say your cholesterol is this level, it is just a measure of where cholesterol is currently in the system. Okay, the reason why I say the blood biomarkers are different from your underlying genetic risk is because one, you inherited, the second one you created through your lifestyle. Okay, do you see the difference there? So one is an epigenetic representation, which is the interpretation of the proteins that are in your body. I think somebody locked that door in the front. Yeah. Because I told them this morning to lock it, right?
It was open when I came.
I know. Somebody locked it. It's fine. It happens all the time. So is that making sense? So it's very important. Hello, come and sit down, please. This way. No, it's fine. We're just starting. Welcome. We then look at your genetic risk. Then all those diagnoses that we are doing is really to look for the levels of these things in your system and also a measurement of the imbalances. So for example, when we run your urine toxicity test, we are looking for that. That's a very strong indication. We know where the heavy metal ranges may be very challenging, right? When we run your stool, we are looking at the microbes and the pathogens, right? We are looking at the diversity in your stool. The diversity of microbes in your stool tells us the health of your GI. The presence of pathogens in the right amount also tells us the health of the GI, right? Stress, we see that in the cortisol hormone in your urine or in your blood or in your saliva. So we're going to talk about those hormones today. Cortisol, which is a hormone that's released to manage what we call the circadian rhythm, right? It manages how the body lives through a 24-hour cycle, right? Cortisol is a very good thing, but in excess, it's a bad thing. You see, that's how God made everything. Everything in balance. You need to have the right amount, not too much, not too little, right? Including water. And then we're also measuring from your blood and micronutrients. We're looking at your nutrient deficiency. We're looking at your macronutrients and your micronutrient deficiency, right? The reason why every class I'm going to go through this is because this is the bedrock of our practice, right? This is the bedrock of our practice, and I want to make sure that everybody really understands this very well. So, based on where I am, welcome. Thank you. I think you spoke on the phone today with Dr. Yi.
Yes.
Okay, and thank you for making it. We normally start at 5:30, but thank you for coming. It's all right.
So much
No,
traffic.
good. There's traffic. It's
15 minutes just to make a left.
and there's construction also everywhere. Yes, I know. You see, and we were just talking about stress. So you just need to accept it. Being late is okay. Like they say in Africa, it's better to be late than to never show up. Right? It's a saying in my country. At least you showed up. So that's important. Can we get some water for her, please? Okay, so we're talking about the imbalances. So all the diagnoses that we're doing, and what are they measuring?
The hormones.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, I like it. It's measuring the hormones, the imbalances. It's also measuring the levels of the causes or the things that we know will lead to chronic illness.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, I didn't put one of the things that causes chronic illness. What is missing, Prasant, from that group of causes of chronic illness? Something that we all are suffering from is missing. What is it?
Lifestyle.
No. Huh? No, it's there. That's pathogens.
Nutrition.
It's stress. Sleep is stress. It's age. It's aging.
Oh, the age.
That's why I'm here.
It's aging.
I got old.
We all did. See, you see any young person here? It's why we're all here.
You're growing old.
So aging is a natural stressor. It causes chronic illness by itself. Right? The aging process. Nobody is going to escape it until we start doing tissue engineering. You know, we are currently building tissue in pigs to transplant to humans. And we are now we can create skin now. We can grow skin in the lab. So when we get to that place where we can manufacture all the spare parts, then you might wake up tomorrow morning and I would say, I want a new skin on my face. When I was 20 years old was when the doctor would say, we've been looking at your pictures. What skin age do you want? She's going to be like, may I discuss with my friends and come back to you? Because you can only change the skin on your face once every 5 years. Because it's going to be so expensive. Yeah, we're going to charge a lot for it. Right? And so you'll come and we'll just put you down there, scrape up your current skin, and just cover your face with the new skin.
Really?
I know I'm creating the future as we're talking, yes. Really. Yeah, they do that now with burns. They do skin grafting. Yes, they clean it and they just grow new skin on the burnt skin. Yes, it's done today. So there are companies that are selling tissue.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes, yes. So soon it will be for face and for nose and for pancreas and for kidney. They're growing them in pigs today.
Yeah.
Yes. So all of that is happening. So let's look at the interventions. I have that thing on Facebook. Some of you who are my friends on Facebook have seen it. There are two lines. One line for surgery and medication, and one line for lifestyle changes. And all Americans are on the line for drugs and surgery.
Not me.
We didn't see you when we ran the picture. We were looking for people like you. Like God said in Sodom, he looked around and he couldn't find anyone. We didn't see you. Even Enda was not there. She was on that line for medication and surgery. Yes, we all escaped that line. So why, your name is
Ileana.
Ileana. Why, Ileana, do you think people run away from lifestyle interventions? Let me educate you on what lifestyle interventions are, okay, before we go there. Number one is nutrients, macro and micronutrients. If you listen carefully, I didn't say calories. Number two is hydration and electrolytes. Number three is sleep. Number four is exercise. Number five is the reduction of our detox, our stress response and relationships. Why, Ileana, do people find that so easy that they don't want to do it?
Because they're so used to the pills. And pills are much better than eating better,
Really?
sleeping, exercising.
Ileana, I missed that class.
Oh.
Where they said pills was much better. I agree with you. Yeah, people they're looking for that pill that is going to solve the magic pill. Yes, that's going to keep me young forever, right? And so that is what we do here. We focus on using what we call lifestyle interventions to support people to slow down or stop the impact that chronic illness has on our health. We were at a workshop the other evening, I think Monday, on stem cells, patches, and one of the conversations there was how stem cell is different from lifestyle interventions. So stem cells repair damaged tissue and regenerate new cells. Lifestyle interventions slow down or arrest. They do not reverse the damage that's done by chronic illness. It's a very important distinction that we need to be very clear about. Okay, so that was section 1 of our agenda. Any questions? Every workshop, I'm going to run through this because I want all my patients and my staff to know this in their sleep. This is the most important basic architecture of how I run this clinic. Very, very important. Every intervention we'll do with anybody who joins us, including myself, we go through this process. And we need to have a deep and clear understanding of how we intervene and what's actually going on. So the practice here, Ileana, is that if we educate you and empower you with knowledge, it will enable you to take proactive action about your health, or reactive actions and the right actions, because there's a lot of fake news out there about health. There are lots of people saying if you take this one pill, everything is going to be fine, and that's what the woman on phone was asking us today. Do you have that one treatment that is going to solve all my neuropathy? And I was like, no, that doesn't exist. Neuropathy is the outcome of a complex set of imbalances. And there is no one thing that can fix it. It is a big collection of things that you either have to remove or provide. Those are the two strategies in our intervention. We remove the bad things and put in the good things. That is really at the core of this strategy. Okay? So now we will start section 2. Any comments, any questions? Are we good? So in the second section, I provide you some knowledge. Can you help pass this, Vincent? Oh, how come you have a copy already? Somebody gave you a copy? Oh, it was sitting there? Oh, okay. So we're going to just quickly run through a high-level set of slides so that we have some educational background. So start on the page that says cortisol. Cortisol symptoms. So what is cortisol, Prasant?
Cortisol is hormone released by adrenal gland, and whenever you have stress, the level.
Okay, so where are the adrenal glands? No. Prasad, you can't answer all the questions, okay? All right, I'm gonna ask somebody else. So, Endang, where are your kidneys? He said the adrenal glands are right where? Above your kidneys. So where are your kidneys? Where? On the flanks? Where does the fat gathers a bit on the flanks? Or at the back?
Muffin top.
The muffin top? Is that what it's called? I like, that's a new word. I like that. So the cortisol is a hormone released by adrenal glands in small amounts in the circadian rhythm. What's the circadian rhythm? Tell us, Dinah, what's the circadian rhythm?
It's how the body functions based on how the sun.
Yes, so it is the 24-hour clock that drives the body. The human architecture was built driven by the light signals into our brain that triggers the clock, the 24-hour clock. That circadian rhythm is very important for our metabolism and for our survival. Okay? That's why when you cannot sleep, it's a very bad thing.
I can't sleep.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
I know. If not, you wouldn't have driven all the way from Long Beach.
I waited 15 minutes.
And the traffic. Exactly. Do we have a stress thing to give Ileana to really like take away that 15 minutes? Soon, Ileana, when we're going to have autonomous driverless cars, you won't have that problem because you'd be doing your video in the back seat of the car while it's taking you. Okay, and so, and in larger amounts during times of stress. So, when we measure your cortisol levels, we typically do it through a 24-hour cycle or 12-hour cycle. We take it in the morning, we take it in the afternoon, and we take it in the evening. And we take it through those 3 times because we are trying to get a sense of your stress levels during the 24-hour cycle, right? Cortisol can help control blood sugar levels, regulate metabolism, help reduce inflammation, and assist with memory formulation, right? Lots of things. So when there's low cortisol and when there's high cortisol, you see all these things. So, you know, most people were not taught anything about hormones. And so it's like an afterthought. Hormones, what is that? I don't actually need it, right? And we don't know that it really drives most of who we are. Hormones really are at the core of our architecture, right? They are neurotransmitters and they help drive almost all the architecture of the body. Okay? They are not in charge, but they help enable everything to work optimally. So you look at low cortisol, fatigue, burnout, low mood, low motivation, low libido, sleep apnea, It goes, so it affects both male and female the same way. Right? Feeling dizzy, weak, fainting, and you can see the other causes there. And then when you have high cortisol, panic attacks, insomnia, weight gain, brain fog, right? When you're always stressed. And we call that chronic stress. And what are the 4 things that drive chronic stress? Dr. Yi, what are the 4 things that drive chronic stress? 4 things.
4 things?
There are 4, yes. No, you've not been in my class, so you wouldn't know. So you're forgiven. What's the first one that drives stress? Perceived stress.
What's that?
Perceived stress
What's that?
is the stress of sitting for 20 minutes waiting to turn left.
Yeah!
I know. You know why it's perceived stress?
Why?
Because there's really no stress about it.
Because you're sitting down waiting for something to happen.
No, you're justifying the stress. There's no stress about it. You could have sat there and made a call to your lover. You see how different that feels? You could have sat there and made a call to us and say, can you put the workshop through my phone? I'm going to listen to it while I'm waiting for the light to change. Right? So perceived stress, we all have justification for it, but there is no justification for perceived stress. Yes, sleep is the second one. It's called the circadian rhythm. If you do not sleep 8 hours or more, you will have underlying stress. Why? Because your clock is out of whack. Sorry? I know, because you are in that group of people who don't sleep. And they are called menopausal women.
Yes!
I know!
Hormones.
Yes.
Why if we're talking about hormonal imbalance, why are we talking about the woman, it's not the man?
No, it affects men too, but our hormones, don't worry, I'm not trying. It doesn't mean that men also sleep better. No, most men also above 50 don't sleep well.
My husband doesn't sleep well, but he's not here.
Yeah, because he thinks that's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
The women who don't sleep well worry more about it than the men. The men think, it's fine, and I can always take a nap.
Yeah.
That's how men think about it. Women are stressed by the fact they cannot sleep, then they cannot sleep. Then they are stressed more by it that they cannot sleep, then they cannot sleep.
Yeah.
Right, do you get that? And so it just continues. But men think, okay, I'll just wake up, go watch some TV, and later the day I'll take a nap. I know, I'm a man. Yeah, exactly. So men approach it very differently. You see that? But for women, it's more chronic because it becomes a sense of worry. And then the husband is snoring on the other side, and you're jealous. How can he be asleep when I'm not sleeping? I know. Right? So we can go on. Let's look at the next page. So the potential root causes for abnormal lab levels for cortisol, we want to look at, we spoke about cortisol, but look at DHEA. So Dr. Yi, tell us, what is DHEA? Dr. Yi, are you asleep? I thought we had a DHEA here. Is it the lipoic acid? Where is it? This one? Where is it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, the keto, yes. So what is DHEA? How many people know what? Dr. Noel? Dr. Yi, are you answering the question or you were falling off? No, I don't want you to tell me the difficult of the name.
What does it do? Is it precursor to the sex hormones?
Yeah, louder, doctor. It's a precursor. As you see on the last diagram, it's supposed to be on the last page diagram. That very complex diagram that none of you like.
Over there.
Do you see the DHEA?
So.
You see it sitting up at the top there? It's a precursor to the sex hormones.
Yeah.
Do you see the diagram?
No, I'm just for a sex one.
I know. So if you look at it, DHEA and cholesterol are really at the source of all the big hormones that drive everything about us, right?
The sex hormone.
Yeah, that's really what drives us. Because without sex hormones, we would not reproduce. And if we didn't reproduce, there would be no people like me here.
Or me.
Yeah, well, I forgot about you, Eliana. Yeah, so we would not be around. Why? Because we would be so bored we would not have sex. Which is what happens when you get to that menopausal age where we call it with low libido, where you don't have any desire for have sex. I know some of you are like, not me, I'm fine.
Not me.
Right? Not me, I'm fine. It is natural to want to have sex. It's part of our God-given architecture. And the moment you don't have desire to have sex anymore,
You're dead.
no, you are not.
It's a depression indicator.
Yes.
Absolutely dead.
Actually, one of our psychologists raters say it is one of the signs of depression. Right? So it is really interesting. And that's why when in the Me Too movement, women are making noise like, why do men want to have sex? If men didn't want to have sex, the world would just stop. We were built to want to have sex with women. Sorry, it could be with men too. I know these days, these days people have sex. I got confused there. I'm sorry, I got confused with women, right? Are you okay, John? John's paper. yeah. John is kind of like saying Charles actually went there, right?
Or
John is a staff, works for me. He's my vice president of marketing. Yes.
so who's the patient here? Just me? And you?
Yes. Yes. The rest are my staff. And we have people watching online. Yeah. So we're having fun. Okay? So let's move on to the big topic. Progesterone and estrogen.
Yes, that one.
That big one.
That big one.
Yes. And if you see, we line up all the stuff for that. So, progesterone is a hormone secreted. You can also look at that picture that we gave you on the last page, right? You will see that progesterone comes in very early in the hormonal cycle from progesterone, which is from cholesterol. And we have supplements here called progesterone, right? We have specific supplements for that to support the body's function of the production of that from cholesterol, right? It's made in the ovaries, and if your ovaries have been taken out, then we need to give you some natural one made. So that, but then let's look at what this progesterone does. Ileana, does it sound like an enemy to you? It's a friend. So look at it in a friendly way.
I need a friend right now.
I know. So progesterone is a hormone secreted after ovulation by the ovaries. It can be made in the placenta and adrenal glands as well. It primarily regulates the condition of the inner lining, endometrium of the uterus. However, like estrogen, its systemic effects are numerous. Let's hold on there. There is an illness called endometriosis. And that illness is the removal of the lining of the endometrium. Right? A lot of women suffer from that. Estrogen, right? If you go back to that interesting diagram, estrogen shows up very late in the process, which supports the fact that God must have made man before he made woman. Hello? Nobody's reacting to that. Yeah, you can see that after God made progesterone, cortisol, and testosterone, then he thought, let's make estrogen. You see the biochemistry of that? Let's make estrogen. Then he made estriol 1 and estradiol E2 and estriol E3. Do you see where all of them are in that biochemical architecture? Are you seeing it? All right. So you see where all of that is. So it could have been that in early man and woman was in the same structure, and then later on God decided to separate them, right? So they could live differently. But look at the issues that estrogen does. It regulates growth, development, and physiology of the human reproductive system. So estrogen was there in the beginning. I was joking. If not, how we would have developed a reproductive system? Where would desire come from? You know that good thing called passion, desire, wanting to do it again and again. And the interesting thing that God did was that it did not keep us a tape memory of all our pleasures, right? Once you have it, it is deleted until the next time. That way you wouldn't say, I've had it too much. You can never have too much because there's no tape of it, right? So you always have to go and play the tape again. That's my addition, guys. Don't take it too serious. Okay, let's look at the symptoms of it. Why is nobody laughing? You're also serious all of a sudden. Is there a lack of estrogen in the room?
Yes.
Okay. Estrogen is an important sex hormone produced primarily by the ovaries in premenopausal women and from circulating adrenal androgens in postmenopausal women. The biological actions of estrogen are mediated by binding to estrogen receptors in target organs. Let's look at the symptoms of low progesterone, low estrogen, and high estrogen, right? That's why you don't have acne when you're much older, right? It's a sign of high estrogen. Mood issues, swelling, tender breasts, it goes on. Look at low estrogen, bone loss, hot flashes, insomnia, low sex drive, mood issues, night sweats, blah, blah, blah. Look at low progesterone, anxiety, infertility. Anxiety is part of sitting in traffic for 15 minutes waiting for the light. You're anxious, like, is the light not changing because I am in the traffic? Or is it normally like that turning into this boulevard, right? Anaheim Boulevard.
Green.
Yes, exactly. And then when it's green, it doesn't make it to your car and it changes red again. And then you start thinking that the universe is conspiring against you, right? Then there's irritability and all the other illnesses that are around that, okay? Are you okay?
Yes, I just have a cough.
All right, good. So we can go to the next page and look at some of the potential root causes for abnormal levels. So when there's poor progesterone, there's poor follicle development. You're using a medication that may be suppressing, or IODs and things like that. Then low estrogen and progesterone, there are lots of things there that can drive that. But what's more interesting is when you have high estrogen, right? When you're overweight, when you have diabetes, when you have PCOS, when you have poor liver clearance, when you drink alcohol, inflammation, lots of other things that trigger high estrogen. And what is the biggest danger of having high estrogen in the bloodstream? Clots and cancer. Yes, having high estrogen is a trigger, and that's why there's a lot of concern about the alpha or beta estrogen circulating in the blood. Okay, which is really, as we'll step into looking at some of this guidance, is the challenge as we come to HRT that some people have with hormone replacement therapy. It is the whole issue of how much estrogen in their blood is safe. Right, Dr. Noel? That's the big question that most patients have, right? She's our doctor. Okay. And Dr. E, I think you spoke to Dr. E. And Dr. Prasant does most of my recommendation. We have our marketing team over there. Okay. So there are different ways in which we look at, and these are some of the strategies there. I don't want to go into any more detail about that. I want to talk about testosterone. Females have that too. That's why these days the men who became women can run for the Olympics. Yeah, very few women are becoming men. Isn't that interesting? Why is that there are more men becoming women than women becoming men? It must be more fun being a woman. That's my analysis.
I think so.
Yes. And then more of the men become women and then they go to run in women's sports.
Really?
Oh yeah, they're all taking first in all the sports.
They're
Yeah.
protest now.
Yeah.
Pay attention to that.
Oh, people are protesting.
Really?
Are you not living in liberal California?
I just
Focus on your low estrogen.
I see the left and the right.
Yes. Sorry, I was just making fun. All right, testosterone is made primarily from two locations. We see in that diagram, right, where testosterone is sitting. It comes from two directions, right? So one is from DHEA and the other one comes all the way from progesterone. You see that line from progesterone that leads to testosterone, and then the other line that comes from androstenediol from DHEA. So those are the two pathways. Some is made throughout the body from the adrenal glands, production of DHEA. In premenopausal women, the ovaries also make some testosterone in premenopausal. So when you have low testosterone, you have belly fat, bone loss, low energy, low sex drive, low muscle mass, mood issues, brain fog. A lot of menopausal women have those symptoms, and it's a very important issue. When you have the testosterone is too high, you have acne, aggression, body hair, thinning of the scalp, and hair loss. Right? We can go into that. I want to go to the next slide that talks about men. I think it's men. Testosterone and the male symptoms. The reason why we didn't talk about men in the other ones was because they were almost the same as women until we arrive at testosterone, which we know is what causes war and famine. Because men want to go steal the women of other tribes. That's where war started, right? You know, kings fought other nations just to get the women. And so was war born from testosterone. Our desire to make sure our DNA is the only one that survives is at the center of warfare. John is looking at me. Is he right? Is that why we went into Iraq? Okay. So testosterone is primarily made from the testes. Upon signaling from the brain. So one of the things that I just wanted to check is that you know that men continue to produce sperm throughout their lives. But women are born with all the eggs they're going to have. So women don't go on making eggs throughout their lives. Women are born with their set of eggs, but men continue to make sperm throughout their lives. It doesn't mean the sperm has the same viability, but they have that capacity. So the testes make both T and EPT. T is metabolized, and those are the two forms, and blah, blah, blah. Let's look at low testosterone symptoms for men is the same like for women. Belly fat, bone loss, low energy, low sex drive, low muscle mass, and that big challenge that we're facing in America called erectile dysfunction. So endang, that's the punishment we get. It balances menopause, right? Erectile dysfunction, menopause are balanced. High testosterone, right? They have prostate problems, thinning scalp, aggression, and acne, right? So what are the root causes of abnormal levels? Age, diabetes, we can go down the different things that cause it. And what causes high levels? You can read about the things that cause it. So today we have traveled through how many hormones? Dinah, how many hormones did we walk through?
So we have cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone 4.
We missed one. Oh,
Yeah, we
well,
cortisol.
sometimes you could think that DHEA is a hormone.
Yeah.
It's a precursor, so it's one of them. So you see how they all link together, right? They're all locked into one architecture. It's like one cooking pot called hormones. This complex architecture is driven together to almost give us vitality. It is really at the core of vitality. That's why I put it in the center. So in this practice, when we talk about vitality, you could be healthy in everything else. If you don't have, your hormones are not running well, you lack that vitality, that drive for life. And so hormones is a very, very important imbalance. That's why I put it in the middle. It's a very critical part of our existence, because but when you are suffering from a hormonal deficiency, you start asking the question, what is the purpose of life? It's a very vexing question, because life almost ceases to have the validity and the value that it deserves. So we're going to move into the next section now, and you're going to fill a questionnaire. And since I've given you a lot of knowledge now, you're going to fill this questionnaire intelligently, right? And we're going to walk through it together. Any questions before we start?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, the restrooms are right there.
Is it possible we have hormone imbalance for puberty, for example? Is it possible?
Yes, it is. Sometimes it could be a genetic problem. It could be a diet problem. It could be a lot of things. So most young women who have it, it's called PCOS. They have irregular periods. They have can you help her with something for the cough? Does she have water? She's reacting to something. Is it stress? Okay, sorry, let me go back to your question. So, so a lot of young women have a lot of high levels of estrogen. So they have acne, their cycle is disruptive, they have painful cramps, and so, yes, it does. Go ahead.
Irregular periods.
Or a lot of bleeding.
I had a lot of issues. If I knew what I know right now, I could.
Give her something to suck, something that will, come and get the curcumin, the chewables. Yeah, give her something to take one. Yeah, no water. Give her something that's gonna calm, soothe the, like menthol or something. We should get some menthols in the office. Okay, remind me, Alexei. Okay, where was I? Yes, so let's walk through, or let's give us some time to come. So we were talking about that. So if you go back to the notes, just go back and look at high estrogen levels. So on this page, that says progesterone, estrogen, potential root causes of abnormal lab levels. Look at high estrogen. They're overweight, obese, surges of estrogen, diabetes, PCOS, estrogen supplementation, poor liver clearance, gut dysbiosis, environmental, alcohol, cyst, inflammation. So it could be a lot of different things. And most times for young women, it's diet. Too much sugar. And so if you put them on a really low glycemic diet, the body comes back and self-regulates. Most times it's diet and lack of circadian control, lack of sleep.
Also, these days, they say that a lot of outside that is estrogen things are like
Correct. Makeup, also birth control pills are just very dangerous for some women. And so it disturbs their overall cycles and causes a lot of problems for young women. So, but you know, that's why we promote IUDs, because for some women it's just much safer to use an IUD than to use birth control pills. Yes, it's a very, especially if it's affecting your hormonal levels.
IUD also release the hormone.
No, the IUD we use doesn't release anything. That's what it's called, right? That long thing we have. What's it called? The one we have from Lilette.
Love.
Yes, bring it, show her.
Something that doesn't really release hormone, it just helps your body
Produce.
naturally.
Yes. Inhibit or slow down or produce it normally.
Also, that estrogen is typically excreted from our body, so that you don't have the extra bad estrogen.
Yeah, what is it? Is it an IUD? What is it called?
UID.
It's an IUD, sorry. Is that what I called it? Yeah, okay, yeah. Yes. Sorry, I'm going to open it. I love it. Why is it not open? I thought we had one on demonstration. We have one on the, oh yeah, it's open, sorry. I'm the one who didn't know how to do it. So you see, it doesn't have anything in it. It goes in and just blocks the passage. It doesn't, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So you use that to insert it, and you put it up there, and it just goes and blocks the passage. There is no chemical in it. Yeah. So a lot of people are using, it's called something, yeah. It's called Lilette. And it is, yes, and it stays there for 5 years, right? Is it 5 years? Yeah, 5 years. And then they remove it, yeah. I didn't know. Does it have hormone? I mean, you guys, it has hormone? Oh, really? I thought it didn't have anything. Okay. I thought that was just the instrument. I didn't know that IUDs had hormone in them. They do?
Only one capsule doesn't have.
There's a new IUD, it's made out of copper. That one has no hormone.
Oh, really? Yeah. So that would be what, I mean, it's copper also. So copper is going to be released to the body, but that's better if you have a hormonal challenge. Thank you. Are you feeling better now? We gave you something to calm your irritation, okay? But sorry, we were worried about you, so we're waiting.
I'm worried about me too.
That's good. We're a community, so we're all worried about you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So let's take the questions. So if you write your name there and the date, we're going to collect the questionnaires afterwards, and we're going to give you some feedback. So the first one looks at growth hormones. So it just tells you to answer those questions as best as you can. So when you say my gums are receding, when you say 4, it means that they have receded. When you say 3, it means they are receding. And 2 is slightly, and 1 is really low or never, right? So just answer as quickly as best as you can. There is no right answer. There's just the answer that you think represents you. I see that. Oh, you need a pen? Oh, okay. There's another correction we didn't make there. So, Prasan, you're going to take this, and then we're going to walk through, and then we're going to score it, and then we're going to just discuss what some of those scorings mean. Okay? So the first section, how many people have finished the first section? You want to add it up? So if you are less than 10, overall 10 or less, it means that your growth hormone performance is satisfactory. Yes?
Less than 10.
You are less than 10? Okay. If you're 11 to 20, then there's a potential deficiency. And if you're above 21, there's a probable deficiency.
So we have to add those?
Yeah, add the numbers. Just count here and add. You got a number?
So if I have 1.
So if you calculated it, how much is the number, the total?
So if I have 2 plus 2 plus 2?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And if I have 0?
That's 0.
That's 0.
Yeah. So you have 11. So that means that there's a possible deficiency. It's not probable, it's possible. So let's go to the next section. DHEA. Let's score that. Did we already upload the questionnaire online?
Yes.
Is Kim doing it? So it says my skin and eyes are dry, my muscles are flabby, my belly is getting fat, I don't have much, I can't tolerate noise, my libido is low. Thank you. Have we finished that? Okay. So look at the scoring around that. And so potentially, if you are scoring above 10 to 20 or above 20, there's a potential that you are low on DHEA. And so Dr. Prasad will be giving you a prescription or a recommendation around that. All right. Let's go to the third one, thyroid. I am sensitive to cold. My hands and feet are always cold. In the morning, my face is puffy and my eyelids are swollen. I put on weight easily. I have dry skin. I have trouble getting up in the morning. I feel more tired at rest than when I'm active. I am constipated. My joints are stiff in the morning. I feel like I'm living in slow motion. Are we good? Can we calculate that? How are we doing? Okay, so let's go to pregnenolone. I have memory loss. My joints hurt. I'm feeling a bit drained and I have a hard time handling stress. I don't see colors as brightly as before. I have lost interest in art. I don't appreciate art as much anymore. I don't have much hair under my arms or in my pubic area. My muscles are flabby. I have abundant light-colored urine during the day. I have low blood pressure. I crave salty food. Are you good?
I am good.
Great. I think when you were drinking the water, it must have gone down the wrong way.
No, I had a cold
Oh, you're recovering?
and I'm recovering.
Okay. Do you need something warm?
I have one body.
Oh, okay, that's great. Okay. So let's go to cortisol. My face looks thinner. My friends call me skinny. You know, some of us thought skinny was good, right? I have eczema, psoriasis, urticaria, skin allergies, and other rashes. My blood pressure is low, right? Some of us struggle with high blood pressure. I crave sugar or salt to the extent of binging. I have digestive problems. I have allergies. I'm stressed out. I'm easily confused.
Scratch that.
And so we move to testosterone. That's for both men and women. My face has gotten slack and more wrinkled. That's like me. I have lost muscle tone, not me. My belly tends to get fat, that's me. I'm constantly tired, not me. I feel like making love less than I used to, question mark. My breasts are getting fatty. I feel less confident and more hesitant, not me. My sexual performance is poorer than it used to be, that's me. I have hot flashes and sweats. I tire easily with physical activity, not me.